Welcome into Rover Sports. We are back. It is Tuesday. I didn't say Wednesday this time. It is Tuesday. And this is really fun because we are really into the NFL season. And this NFL season, we have a lot of storylines for week 2. A lot of things even off the field, on the field, locally with the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Giants, and the NFC East. There's a lot of news, Bruce. We can go in a variety of directions. Maybe we can knock this one out of the way first. The news today, Daniel Jones, quarterback now of the New York Giants. I was dead wrong on this issue. I'm wrong on a lot of things, but I thought that Eli Manning this year would be good enough to win 10 or 11 games. He hasn't. He's played, I'd say, pretty poorly. Not as bad as like Luke Falk, but he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And he's just not mobile. He can't run anymore. So I think he looks like he has trouble even walking to the line of scrimmage. So he's just, if he's ever going to play in the NFL and start games, he has the arm strength to do it. It's just his lateral quickness. He's going to need to go and run some track. But I think the Giants fans, they took a lot of heat a couple years ago, Bruce, because they said that the Giants fans complained when Geno Smith took over, and they threw a fit when Eli was benched. But really, Giants fans all knew it was time, so I think that everybody's reacting normally to this. And for Pat Shurmur, who's been a very mediocre to really crappy head coach for a long time, he has to prove that he's capable of being a head coach or else he's going to be fired. So I'm very happy that we get to see Shurmur now with no excuses. So go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, well, I think once a team is eliminated, and again, it's only 2 games, but looking at the Giants, there's no reason to be optimistic about them. It's a rebuilding year. And you drafted this guy number 6, and he's mobile, he's intelligent. He just needs, hopefully, you always worry about a young quarterback. I remember getting Bobby Hoy years ago. The fact is they didn't protect him at all, and he had one really great year, and he came back. It's possible to get shell-shocked and develop bad habits if you have poor offensive line and no wide receivers. So let me just finish. So other than being shell-shocked, it seems like there's a trend. There's so many guys, Jameis Winston, Mariota, Baker, Jakes, Mayfield. You're starting rookies much sooner. In the old days, you had to more or less wait for your turn. But these days, a guy like that, he's got the physical presence, and the Giants really have nothing to lose. And I think also, if you look at their fan base, this is an old franchise with a lot of good history, and they've been in a rut for years. And if I was a Giants fan, putting Daniel Jones in is about the only thing that would rekindle my interest. Just keeping Eli around wouldn't do so.
Quick question. So the last time I think they really sat a good starting quarterback and let him kind of learn was probably Aaron Rodgers. The last one I can think of where they made him sit behind a guy and learn.
Brett Favre, right?
Yeah. I don't know. As an Eagles fan, it's a little bittersweet, saying goodbye to a rival. I mean, he's been around for some time. I kind of wanted one last dance. I guess
still might. You know what the last dance is?
Yeah.
Daniel Jones. Look at this year, getting back into the circle of what's going on this year. I've never seen a year with so many injuries, and devastating injuries. Looks like we have a phone call here on Rover Sports.
Can you?
Yo, Eli sucks.
Hello? Hello?
We got a wrong call. Here we go.
Oh, here's a real call.
Yes, welcome in the Rover Sports. Thanks for the phone call.
Hello, from Toronto, Canada.
Is it Jeff Weagle?
It's Jeff Weagle. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Doing great. Great to hear from you. One of our favorite Rovers. Yep. Great to hear your voice.
It's really good to hear from you guys. You guys, I've always had respect for you guys from years now. You always comment on my posts, my kids, and all that stuff. So God bless you guys. You guys are awesome. So, cheers from Toronto, Canada, guys. So it's great to be on the air.
Fantastic. So what do you make of this NFL season so far?
Well, I'm not surprised by the Redskins. That's a given. I said it before. Like you guys know, Redskins back in the 80s were dominant. They were one of the best. They were the best. They were amazing. But until Dan Snyder came in, destroyed the team. He really destroyed this team. We've gone through about 25 quarterbacks in the past 5 years. We haven't gone anywhere. It's a disgrace. And I'm a true Redskins fan. You guys know I love my Redskins. I've been a Redskins fan since Joe Theismann, but I'm not surprised. And they're going to probably go 3-13, if not 2-14 for the rest of the year. So that's a given.
I actually, as an Eagles fan, feel bad for Redskins fans.
It's a disgrace.
I feel bad for Redskins fans. I really do, in the sense that I feel like you guys have zero chance with your ownership to have a fighting chance to be a good team. I mean, it's.
I think, Jeff, the problem with the Redskins is that you guys are too hesitant. You guys are too afraid of making risks, and you're totally fine. You're totally complacent with being very average. Where you look at the Miami Dolphins, and they're trading away all their good players, but they might stumble into a transcendent player in Tua Tagovailoa. And the Redskins, you bring in Case Keenum, who's so average. You had Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. At least you had Sean McVay and Shanahan both in your organization, and you're too afraid of hurting feelings to elevate them to be a head coach. And that just shows fear, and that's embarrassing, and that's actually extremely, extremely depressing and heartbreaking to let those two guys leave your building as young guys. You see this with Garrett now, and you see some great head coaching candidates in Dallas, and you have to strike while the iron's hot, and you had McVay and Shanahan right there, right underneath your nose, literally in your franchise, and you did nothing. And
it's not him.
I
Jeff's
agree.
a great guy.
I'm
not calling him.
No, I'm analyzing the Redskins. I'm analyzing the Redskins and Snyder and the successful businessmen that own that team.
I think one thing, Jeff, and it's Bruce. Great to hear your voice. We collaborate. I feel like we know each other real well. You've always supported Rover Sports. I have a lot of friends from the Washington area and even from Delaware and Pennsylvania. They're really diehard Redskins fans, and they always stick with their team. They're good fans. When we go to the stadium, when Spencer and I have been there, and Al's been there, it's always it's kind of a throwback kind of a stadium. They're well behaved fans, and the Redskins have a classic history and a pedigree. You're right. People I know close to Dan Snyder, anybody who knows him or is close to him, there's literally nobody. There's nobody who said a good word about him, and that's unusual to have unanimity with respect to the owner. Not only all the moves inside, but the personal things about him. Just an annoying guy and really arrogant and treats people poorly. And unfortunately, that filters down to touch everything in the organization. And with you guys, with Joe Gibbs and the other last year with Joe Washington, I'm sure you remember him, the little Joe, the running back. We were with him at the Orange Bowl, and what a great guy. And there's a lot of great old Redskins, and much like the Giants, and that's it's no secret, Spencer's team, and you've got the Redskins. I just don't know what's going to happen when the Skids play play the Giants, because both teams are meeting a lot of challenges this year.
Yeah, specifically.
Well, it's funny because you guys just bunched Eli Manning. I think Eli Manning. He gave it all. He won 2 Super Bowls in the past 10 years. I think his time is done. My hat's off to him. I think he's just really running out of gas. But it's actually funny when you said that. Jack Kent Cook. He was actually born in Canada, just to let you guys know. He knew football. He grew up with football. He bled football. He knew the sport. Dan Snyder just had money to buy a team. He didn't know anything about the sport. And you're right. I know a few people who actually met Dan Snyder in Washington. Just an arrogant guy. But Jack Kent Cook, he was a family man. He was he loved the sport. He is rolling around in his grave right now because he brought 3 Super Bowls to Washington. And 1991, the Redskins put one of the best teams ever together, and he just destroyed this team. I'm telling you, Redskins fans out there, I'm a Redskins fan. The Redskins will not go anywhere with Dan Snyder in charge. And unfortunately, he ain't going to sell the team. So this team is in dismantle for years and years to come. It's a shame. I have no other words for it. My dad's rolling around his grave. God rest his soul. He was a Redskins fan, but the truth is, this team ain't not going anywhere with Dan Snyder in charge.
Agreed.
Thanks, Jeff, for the phone call.
Yeah, we'll talk soon, Jeff. Thanks for logging into Rover Sports again. We are brought to you from Philadelphia PRP and Stem Cell Institute, and I myself captain this team. I'm happy to tell you that anybody out there, if you have sports injuries or arthritis, and nobody's getting any younger, that's good and bad, It certainly beats the alternative. But a lot of you weekend warriors, and you see all the time people living with shoulder problems, knee problems, you want to go to the gym. The fact is, you don't need to get cut. You don't have to do drugs. All you need to do is call 610-222-5675. And this is really a combination of two great companies. Mainline Regenerative Medicine has joined with Philadelphia PRP and Stem Cell Institute, and you too can get PRP just like the professional athletes, just like Freddie Mitchell, just like so many people in this area, Sixers, Eagles, all those great people. When they get hurt, they don't want to get cut. They want to get back to the field. So again, they're our newest sponsor, 610-222-5675. Leave us a message. And again, that's Jeff Weigel from Toronto, Canada. So as you know, we are live now. A lot of times you guys always listen to our broadcasts after Eagles games, after Sixers games. But you can actually call in and get in. We have lines open, 484-257, and that's 9592, 257-9592. And let's talk some more about a game. I really went on a rant for all you people on Facebook and all other people logging in on our Eagles websites. I know we have Al Zafiri. He's wonderful as our producer. We're here at the beautiful studios here in Delaware County. I think we have, a ton of people at Delco, maybe a million people. This is a very densely populated area. We've got a ton of callers right now. But I really unloaded on the Eagles, on their strength and conditioning. And today something bled out about the fact that Deshaun Jackson has had this abdominal strain since before the season. Looks like we have a caller.
How about we take one more caller and then we get in a rhythm actually talking about the
That's okay.
football. Go ahead.
Welcome into Rover Sports.
Thanks, Doc. How's things going, Spencer?
Coach Josh Dacey.
Doc, all excited, about the games that were going on. Obviously disappointed in the Eagles this weekend. A couple questions. What are we going to do about the defensive line? It keeps falling apart. Malik Jackson, now another injury. What's going on?
Jernigan out. Well, again, there's whisperings from Chris Long, actually, in the last 2 days. I don't know what it means, but Chris Long is whispering about wanting to return to the team. And I personally would welcome him with open arms. They really miss Michael Bennett. They probably don't miss his disruptive influence in the locker room. I'm sure that's what brought him out of town. But Chris Long was the man of the year, NFL man of the year. And right now, I'm not seeing a pass rush at all. I think they have 1 sack in 2 games. The only way they can get any pressure is blitzing, and that's uncharacteristic for Jim Schwartz. And I was giving him credit when you heard my post game. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Jim Schwartz was blitzing. Sandejo had a beautiful sack, but yet that zero coverage when they came out and Julio burned them, that was the dagger. It turns out that was the dagger, and that was a very disappointing loss. In the last few years, we've been blessed with a lot of good wins. We lost a lot of games like that in the Andy Reid era. But Coach Josh Dacey, give us a little quick summary of your view of that Eagles game.
I got to be honest with you, Doc. I watched the first half. I fell asleep pretty early after doing the run. So
you work so hard. Nobody works harder than you, so you're entitled to fall asleep.
I did. I did the Ironman on Sunday, and 70 miles or something. So, but I tell you what, one of the things I saw a lot of recap. One of the things that Atlanta did so well is Matt Ryan got the ball out quick. He was making throws within close to a second and a half. And when you do that against a bad corner like Ronald Darby, it really shakes things up. I guess I was going to ask you about what's your thoughts on Jalen Ramsey? Do you think you'd give something up for a guy that's not exactly a locker room guy?
Well, Spencer, I know that you followed him. I have a strong opinion of Jalen Ramsey, but I don't want to bias Spencer. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Coach. I look at the Eagles now, And I believe that with this team, it kind of looks like a win-now team now. The pass rush isn't that good. I look at Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox. I think Fletcher Cox is just getting older. He's just not the same player he was 2 years ago. Derek Barnett's not the same guy. This defense looks very, very average. The linebackers are as bad as they've ever been. Everybody always talks about Carson Wentz and all the flashy weapons, like when they're healthy, how good they can play. But this defense, it's a full team game, and this defense is not good enough to win a championship. But I look at Jalen Ramsey. You have Carson Wentz. You don't know how long Carson Wentz is going to play in this league. He gets killed every single day. He holds the ball so long. Jalen Ramsey's a fantastic player. Now, the problem is with Ramsey, you're going to have to give up a first and a fifth round pick. And you know what? Jalen Ramsey, I don't think you want to sign that guy to $21 million for 4 years, which would add up to what? $84 million over 4 years for a complete head case for a guy that's going to go on social media and has to be traded. He's the most impulsive individual ever, you know? So he's totally mentally changes personas like a chameleon, and that is just a nightmare and a headache waiting to happen. I don't know. If you can win a Super Bowl, you would give the first rounder away, but I would say it's tough. I'm 50-50 on it. He's such a good player. What do you think, Bruce? What do you think about Ramsey?
Okay, I share your concerns. I watched the tape, Doug Marrone and Ramsey, and this guy is totally disrespectful. Just because there was not a challenge flag. I mean, to me, that's pretty minimal. To go ballistic, Ramsey went ballistic on that play. And then Marrone came to him, like, during the game, a head coach should be able to approach a player. So when Marrone came to talk to him, it was almost like I was watching a fight in the octagon. Ramsey came out and started like another skirmish, and both people had to be restrained. It was a total embarrassment. If I'm a Jacksonville Jags person, if I'm a Tom Coughlin, I'm embarrassed by that. And again, the Jags, the news that splashed today was they won 2 first-round draft picks, which there's no way they're going to get that.
No, because he's too much of a head case. Well, that was just boiling over. But Jalen Ramsey, I mean, this is all tactical. I actually think it might be wise. Yeah, it's wise. He's just going to progress upward. He's with a crappy franchise right now in a city that can barely fill their stadium, and an owner that would rather play in London for every single year. And he has a quarterback that is hurt. So now he's probably going to go to a contender. He's going to go back to Nashville or go out to California, have a great life. So there's no punishment for this type of bad behavior, but that's the modern NFL for you in a nutshell.
What do you think, Al? What do you think about Jalen Ramsey? Would you want him on the Eagles under any circumstance?
I would want him on the Eagles, but I'm not giving up 2 first-round picks. I'm not paying him what he wants to get paid. So the odds of the Eagles landing him right now are probably
it's a 1-year rental.
This is what I would do. I would do a 1-year rental, but I would do the way that there's some background noise there. The way that things are structured with Antonio Brown, essentially after he blew up with the Raiders, was that there was conduct policies, there was no bonuses, and if you had something written in where this, like, basically a zero tolerance for this kind of behavior, you know, you could unload them. But unless you have an incredibly well-written contract that's totally team-friendly, which I don't think his agent would bite on, I would let Jalen Ramsey go. I look, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, a lot of it, Coach, was the chemistry of the team. It was just incredible. And they Michael Bennett, he wasn't terrible. This guy Ramsey, I think, is a lot worse. He takes Bennett to a new extreme. Spence?
Yeah, and, well, this isn't the first rodeo with this Jalen Ramsey character. I mean, when you look at his development in the NFL from a personality standpoint, on the field he's a wonderful player. He's actually a very competitive guy. He went to Florida State. And the thing is, he's been a malcontent with Jacksonville for a couple of years. So it wasn't just he went ballistic and it was a one-time instance on Sunday. This has been building up. And Jacksonville, you got to be proactive. When these guys are starting to get really frustrated, like Jamal Adams on the Jets today, like unfollows all the Jets on social media, you got to be proactive and you got to start trading these guys before it boils over into a full-on hurricane of a full-on mess. And the Jaguars, they scouted this guy out of college, and they said, this is the kind of personality, and this is the kind of guy we want to bring into our locker room with the number 4 overall pick. And he's just turned out to be a real detriment to that team. And you got to get rid of him because the culture is a disaster. But Jalen Ramsey, in a 1-year scenario, he's the best cornerback in the NFL. He's a Hall of Fame player. So who knows? He's such an amazing talent.
My question is, did Antonio Brown set a precedent here? If you don't like your team, you don't like where you're at, put up a big if you have enough clout like Antonio Brown. I mean, I don't think any old Joe is going to be able to get away with it. But,
right.
But
kind of like Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I mean, think back to when Eli was drafted. I mean, he pretty much said, "I'm not playing," and they worked
for the
out.
Chargers.
Yeah,
I'm not playing, and I want to trade. So he might be the first one, probably the most timid, nicest guy to ever do that.
Yeah.
I think it was his dad, and a lot of people took hits. That's what Archie Manning was, a young guy, and he was very opinionated, and Archie made that move, and Eli's a young kid, and he went with it.
Because Archie was tortured with the New Orleans Saints, and he didn't want his son.
I don't think he ever played in the playoff game.
He didn't want his son to go out to that family that sold that team, or that moved from San Diego to L.A. And you talk about the owner of the Redskins having a bad reputation. The Spanos family has nearly as bad of a reputation. So he just wanted Eli Manning to go to a stable franchise. But I think you've seen it in football before a little bit. It's NBA stuff kind of sprinkling in to the NFL. I look at Jalen Ramsey, and he's only going to go to a select few teams. He's not going to go to a rebuilding team.
Well, here's the thing is, unlike the Antonio Brown situation, he's not just going to get dumped. They're not going to just dump him and say, see you later, and then somebody's going to pick him up like New England did with AB. But because the Jags are going to want something for it. Yeah, so they're going to ask for 2 first-round picks for a 1-year rental. We all know that. They know that's not going to happen. They figure shoot high and meet somewhere in the middle like anybody does with Dorian. It's a negotiation. But my question is, do you consider what happened with Antonio Brown, what happened with New England, and like how he... It's obvious. Like all of a sudden, we don't hear anything about his helmet. We don't hear anything about his frozen toes or whatever.
He's not coming in on a hot air balloon into Gillette Stadium.
No,
because that's not the Patriot way.
Well, it's been though. How long has it been though, Al? In fairness, they played the Dolphins, so they've won. Let's see when it hits a little adversity. Let's see what happens. Give it a month before he starts acting up.
My point is, he didn't want it. The Steelers weren't going to trade him to. They were going to trade him to the Patriots. That was never going to happen.
No.
They sent him out. They go, fine. You want to get traded? Here, we'll send you to the Raiders. They're willing to pony up for it, and we have no problem. Go ahead, get out of here. You're no longer a headache to us. Now, even though they already played New England, he's back. He's more of a headache to them again, and it's just, to me, I don't want to say tampering, but I just think this was set up from the get-go. This was his.
I think it's clear.
It very well could have been an out. There was something in the contract where he couldn't get released from the Oakland Raiders, or he had to pass the 53. Mm-hmm. And once he passed the 53, it was all premeditated with the Mayock, the comments. Yeah. He clearly looked like he didn't want to play at all.
And now Mayock knew if they got to the point that he got to the first game that his guaranteed money was going to happen. So Mayock and the team had to make a decision: do we split ways with AB, or do we continue, or do we take a chance? And now he's going to get his.
That's why they altered the contract. They removed all of his guaranteed money. Mm-hmm. He was week to week, and it turns out that was the right thing because he would have soaked him otherwise. Mm-hmm. And you look at the Patriots. Obviously, they haven't been challenged much with opposition, but the rich get richer. You've got Josh Gordon, who couldn't stop smoking weed in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. He hasn't touched a joint since he set foot in Mass. And then you look at Antonio Brown.
Well, I thought wasn't he dismissed last year though? Wasn't there a big dismissal
from the league? You mean Josh Gordon?
No, wasn't he on the Patriots, and didn't he leave the Patriots because of weed last year?
Well, I think he maybe sent him to rehab or something.
I think that he had a relapse in Massachusetts.
But in any event, you look at those two guys are so talented.
Yeah.
And then you've got Julian Edelman on that team. Tom Brady hasn't lost a step. No. He's just an ageless guy. Whatever the TB12 thing is, maybe you sleep 12 hours, you eat perfectly. he is.
He's genetically the best athlete.
Well, I don't think it's just genetically. I think it's environmentally. It's
genetic. It's genetically a little bit. I mean, why can't Eli Manning? Why can't Hasselbeck and Eli and McCown look as fresh as Tom Brady? It's a combination of things.
It's a combination of everything.
He's blessed with talent.
The bottom line is that team looks unstoppable.
Well, I mean,
but you also let's look at Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Another interesting guy to go around the horn about. What did you make of his game? You watched the game.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you look at these teams like the Patriots, I mean, they played the Steelers that look like a mess. They played the Dolphins, so you don't know how good the Patriots are. And this isn't basketball, This is a 22-person thing. So just because the Patriots have good wide receivers, the Browns have good wide receivers, and they're pretty crappy so far through 2 games. But Mahomes is as special of an arm talent as we've seen. He's very smart on the field. He throws with great touch. I think Andy Reid.
Look pass.
I think Andy Reid is brilliant. He doesn't sound brilliant at a press conference, but he's scheming up these plays so aggressively, and he's a quarterback whisperer in this league. He's one of the best offenses that we have in the league, and the Chiefs are definitely going to be probably in the Final Four. When we get to the end, the Chiefs are probably going to be playing the Patriots in the AFC, or the Chiefs are probably going to get the 1 seed and have a great chance to win the Super Bowl, get to the Super Bowl, go to the playoffs, do everything that they want to do.
Well, I mean, now that you have the Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger has his injury. In the AFC, who scares you? What other team scares you?
Other than Patriots and Chiefs? I think the Bills can go 12-4. Bills are a good team.
You know why?
Bills are the 3rd best team in the AFC.
They got 4
agree?
automatic wins.
Yeah.
Because they've got Jets and Dolphins. So you're right. It sounds outlandish.
Well, look at the Cowboys. The Cowboys have a great schedule too. They play the Dolphins now. Then I think they go to play the Jets. They're going to play a Drew Brees-less New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
So, I mean, as an Eagles fan on our side, we may be, by the time we get to play Dallas, they could be 6-0 very easily.
And then each win you get better. Each win the team practices better, the morale is better.
Mm-hmm. Let's focus here on Philadelphia. I've never seen, and I've been watching these games for decades, I've never seen a game with so many injuries to crucial players.
Sure.
So Goddard, your second tight end, was out before the game started. The story with Deshaun Jackson that broke today was that he has an abdominal strain, though he's had it. And I saw a media report, I assume it's true, that he had this abdominal strain off and on in the offseason. He was able to play through that first game with 2 long touchdowns. So I'm just wondering, what happened in Atlanta that caused him to flare it up? I don't think anybody has a real answer to that, but he's not out 1 game, he's out 2 games.
That's ridiculous. He looked like he probably had some of the best receiving yards in football. The first week he looked great. How come he's not playing against the Falcons? No. And also, if Deshaun Jackson had that injury before the Redskins game, the Redskins is a guaranteed win. Why were they playing him just so it could get worse and then not playing him in Atlanta? I mean, how dumb is that by that medical staff?
Maybe it was not them. Maybe it was him. I mean, it's on the player to let them know. Maybe he figured I can play through this. It's not that big deal. And and it's like you just said.
I think that there should be testing on guys, though, after games,
That kind of stuff, you can lie about how much something hurts. You can,
right,
they're not going to have like a scanner that's going to say, oh, there's a problem right there.
We don't have a pain meter. There's no pain meter.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit on the player on that situation, or maybe they just didn't think it was bad as it was. I mean, if you go around, the Eagles are relying on a lot of good veterans, and as we know, once you hit that 30 mark, things start to go downhill for most people. Outside of so far Tom Brady and Drew Brees, or even Drew Brees looks like it's starting to hit him now. But like Cox, he's been. I don't think he's 100%. I think what his toe issue is. That's why he's not getting off, and he's been a non-factor for the first 2 games. Now that we're losing 2 guys, he has to become a factor. There's no other question about it. The linebacker core, which the Eagles never put a ton of,
resources
stock into or resources into.
Yeah.
Now the secondaries still came in injured. Now even looking more injured, and the only other injury that Darby can have now is being burnt because that's all he can be. He has 3rd-degree burns from all the times he's been left in the dust.
And Jalen Mills came out and basically said that they don't really know what's wrong. He doesn't have a Jones fracture. He doesn't have a Liz Frank strain. And it's almost like going way back to Andrew Toney syndrome. Andrew Toney, the Boston Strangler. He was a great guy, and his career, basically, he always had foot pain. Nobody could figure out what it was, and he eventually retired. I hope Jalen Mills, I wish better for him. I think he's making some slow progress, but they really need Jalen Mills in there.
Well, it's like week
and
8
Avonte
to
Maddox had a good game. I mean,
Yeah.
really had a good game
Douglas had a much better game
And,
compared to his first game. But with Jalen Mills, you're looking at week 8, week 9, week 10 before he even thinks about coming back. He's the first Liz Frank injury. I don't know if it's the same extreme now with Malik Jackson out for the season.
Malik Jackson's out, and of course Tim Jernigan had a foot injury, and it's always ominous. You know, when you see these big guys with these foot injuries, they're carted off the field. And Jernigan's been plagued with a lot of injuries. If you remember, he had a herniated disc. He had major back surgery last year. He worked his way back, and he started the game against Washington. But this guy is just accumulating injuries. You just wonder if he's ever going to play again. This could be the final straw.
Bruce, you mentioned how Avonte Maddox played well against the Falcons.
I thought he did, particularly in the second half of that game.
I have two questions, and they're both running parallel to each other.
Okay.
Do you think that Ronald Darby will be benched this season for Avonte Maddox? Do you think he could lose the starting cornerback role if he keeps getting burnt this badly?
I don't really think so, and I'll tell you why. Rasul Douglas is limited. If you could just put some juice into that phone.
So
let me just answer the question.
Okay.
Rasul Douglas is not an every down corner. He has his limitation is speed. His advantage is he's very physical. So Rasul Douglas, in certain situations, particularly in the red zone, he's tremendous because he's physical. But people are gonna outrun Rasul Douglas. So the thing about Darby is he's got medium speed. He's probably faster than Rasul Douglas. Avonte Maddox, I just think they're so thin at corner. They don't really have a choice. I think they're stuck with them.
Well, you selected Jones really high in the second round.
Yes.
Do you believe that Jones was drafted to be an outside corner? Do you believe he has the speed to be the outside guy?
I believe he does, and I believe he is playing that. Last year at the very end, he was playing the inside blocking on the name.
The slot?
The slot. He was playing slot corner because he was still recovering from his Achilles.
I mean, he had a good game individually in a bubble. He had some hard hits. He was playing well. So Jones, this is a prove-it year for him. I mean, the Jones experiment is over after this if he just doesn't
because
play.
He's been hurt and failing.
Yeah, I mean, this is his third year now.
I think it's time. Would you like to see Jones play a cornerback over and bench Darby for the outside receiver role?
I don't know if we can right now.
Why wouldn't you put Jones there? Jones and Maddox as the corners.
We're down to like 4.
The thing is,
you put Jones and Maddox as your outside, and your slot is Rasul Douglas, and Darby's your fourth guy.
I don't think Rasul Douglas is a slot guy. I mean, he's big. He's a big guy. He can't make those.
Then Ronald can play. Ronald can play the slot then.
But look at these other injuries. So number one, I have a problem with the strength and conditioning. The fact that when you got a team with so many calf strains, groin strains, these are soft tissue injuries. To me, that's a sign. I've never seen so many injuries. Also, Alshon Jeffrey is there. He's got a calf strain. It's not a high ankle strain. Why are they not working him on the sidelines? He should be there with his leg up. There should be 2 guys on him. He shouldn't be standing there. That's laziness on the part of the training staff. True laziness.
Well,
they're not working on Deshaun Jackson at all. I just see that this team, and I hope I'm wrong, I've just never seen so many injuries, and I don't think they're all just coincidence. I think it has to do with strength and conditioning.
Let me ask this question. It kind of comes back to the question we had previous weeks. Is it the lack of preseason for these guys? Is it the lack of real-time football? You know, because I
believe so, because I think your body has to get into playing shape.
Yeah.
So to go essentially, and a lot of these guys, because they know they're not playing in the preseason, they're just not training. We don't know. We can't say it. But in general, they may not be training as hard to actually go with physical contact. So usually the preseason is when you have the physical contact and you get ready. Iron sharpens iron, and it seems like this year they're going from basically 0 to 60. What happens? The engine engine blows out.
I disagree with kind of that opinion because one of your favorite quotes is, "You'd rather drown in the ocean than drown in a mud puddle." So
I don't know how that relates to
so
this.
these guys are drowning or getting hurt, but they're getting hurt when they're actually when there's football being played, whether it's week 1 or week 2. If Doug Peterson and these guys got injured in the preseason, you know how tough that would be to have to talk to the media about that.
No, I'm not.
And
arguing
also,
that.
here's the thing about why I don't buy into the preseason argument, because every team in the NFL is pretty much not playing guys. So the other teams are doing the same thing that the Eagles are doing.
Let's talk about the injuries now. Just as a sports doctor,
Yeah.
these injuries are not injuries you get when you're injury prone. You know, the old injury prone. The Drew Brees was kind of a freak injury. He actually tore a ligament in his thumb. So let's face it. You're not strengthening your thumb. You're not getting a hypertrophy thumb. But he actually contacted the guy's hand. It was Aaron Donald, actually. And imagine hitting his hand. That'd be like hitting this table right here. So that's an injury. You've had that injury, Spencer.
I had a finger.
You had a football just hit you a certain way where you basically ruptured a tendon.
Yeah.
So this is almost the same thing. He ruptured a ligament. He could not grip a football. And now Brees is out 6 to 8 weeks. So that's kind of a freak injury. And you look at Roethlisberger has an elbow. Again, an elbow is not a muscular area. He just took a direct shot to the elbow, tore, I don't know precisely, he may tore an extensor tendon. This might be the equivalent of a Tommy John injury where he needs surgery to be back. But the fact that these quarterbacks are going down, Trevor Siemian's injury, and you were there, you were covering that game for Rover Sports last night, probably a very boring game, but that Trevor Siemian injury, where that defensive lineman basically just committed a penalty, it just steamrolled her. And that ankle he had no chance. It was very ugly. I don't know. You were there. Did they show a replay
I was
on
way
that?
up in the nosebleed, so it was tough to see that.
Did
but
they
it
show
didn't
a
look
replay?
good. No, they didn't.
But it just didn't look good, even if you're there.
Yeah, it didn't look good. But I look at the Steelers, Bruce, and they're starting out. They now have their backup quarterback out of Oklahoma State. His name is Mason Rudolph. I'm not a fan of Mason Rudolph's game. Like I see, he looks kind of like Cody Kessler when you watch him throw.
That's never a good statement.
And
That's not a good analogy.
And yesterday, the Steelers traded for a safety, Minka Fitzpatrick from the Dolphins.
I was a little surprised because
they gave away their first-round pick, which could have been used to select Big Ben's successor at the quarterback position, because Big Ben said he wanted to retire like a couple of years ago. I thought that was insanely stupid by the Steelers.
Well, I don't know if it's stupid. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick's still on a rookie deal. He's still got a few years left on that deal. So I don't know. I think giving up the first-round pick when you are...
That's like a top 5 pick. That's gold.
I agree with you. And here's my thing: is I actually had the Steelers winning the division up until this point.
Yeah.
As the sports doc, I mean, at his age, kind of like Spence said, the guy's already been contemplating retirement. This kind of injury, is this it? If you're putting money on it, is Ben Roethlisberger done permanently in the NFL?
It's hard to say. In other words, I haven't seen.
I just know he's not for
they're often a little bit vague. They didn't tell us exactly what tendon was torn. Was it a flexor tendon? Was it a collateral ligament? So once I find out, and again, I'll report back as a sports doc, I'll let you know. But the fact that it's a complete tear, he's getting surgery, he's out for the year, and he's on IR for the rest of the year is certainly not a good sign. How old is Roethlisberger? Like maybe
38, maybe.
His UCL.
Is that old?
His UCL.
Okay. So
he's old.
So it's ulnar collateral.
He's
ligament.
old, and Ben, he's
big. He's
going
to have Tommy John-ish type surgery now.
Right, and a Tommy John is even with modern medicine, it's usually over a year.
Yeah.
So he may not, in the best case, be ready to start next season.
And I think he's just about done. He should probably quit.
And certainly, in my opinion, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I definitely think so. He's won the championships. He's been in the playoffs a lot.
Being
he has
mobile
great
at his
records.
size throughout his entire
great
career.
improviser.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really many people who would disagree with him.
Doesn't turn the ball over. He's the best out of the Rivers and Eli class.
And the fact that he won the Super Bowl. That actually just
Twice.
helps you.
Twice.
Yeah, I mean, that just helps you. I mean, it goes back to the Donovan McNabb conversation. Is he or is he not a Hall of Famer? If Donovan McNabb won a Super Bowl, probably be a no-brainer. Most people would probably say yes. The fact that he didn't win a Super Bowl plus his attributes, his personality issues, that actually hurts him.
Well, Ben's actually played in 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Jim Kelly's played in 4. Donovan's only played in 1.
Sure.
And McNabb had that. He played Brad Johnson heads up and lost to the Bucks at home when I think the Eagles were a better team. He played the Panthers, and you could talk about the bad receivers of Todd Pinkston and James Thrash, but still, that was the Panthers. You should get to another Super Bowl, and he just lost playoff games that he needed to win to get to.
I want to shout out to our college football expert Charlie Bowles, and he was in New York today. He's a very busy guy. His business is booming, thankfully. So if you want commercial real estate, if you want to unload some properties, the man is Charlie Bowles, and he's a Facebook friend. Next Tuesday, we'll give you a little teaser. He will be here in studio for the first release of his top 20. Also, if you go to his website, it's a very small fee of $1,000 buy it. Just kidding. Charlie has been winning at an alarming pace.
Does he have locks?
This year. He's got his locks of the
Bowls
week, locks of the day.
Picks,
And
Bowls' locks.
Bowls is Bowls. And we want to say hi to Charlie, and we miss you today, but we look forward to see you in studio next week. We have a question and we have a lot of great people logging in, a lot of my friends here on this watch party. Bruce Grosinger, Facebook. We are Rover Sports.
Okay.
And the question from Lisa from Reading is, the Detroit Lions are coming into Philly, 1 o'clock game. We don't watch a lot of Lions football. We want to hear a scouting report from Spencer.
Lions defense is pretty decent.
They're undefeated.
What?
They're technically undefeated.
They are undefeated. They did tie the Arizona Cardinals.
1-0-1.
They played well against the Chargers. They let up 10 points.
Well, let me ask this question because I didn't follow that. I didn't get the chance to watch that game.
Yeah.
Did the Chargers play down, or is the Lions and Stafford better than everybody?
I don't think the Chargers are all that good to begin with because they have a lot of injuries.
I thought they were.
I think the Lions are very average.
Okay.
But the thing is, the play calling of the Lions is a lot better now because now they actually run the football. Before they had Matt Stafford doing all these 3-yard throws where it was very dangerous. You could intercept it. And for the Lions, I mean, this is for Patricia. We have to see if Matt Patricia can coach up this secondary because I think they're very good against the run. They have Snacks Harrison, Trey Flowers. They have some defensive guys that are all right. Kerryon Johnson is their back. And if they can run the ball, and that's how you win on the road is running the ball. So it's going to come down to that. If the Lions are physical enough to do this and have a chance against the Eagles, I think we're going to learn a lot about the Lions because if the Eagles blow out Matt Patricia, then Patricia, this might be his last year in Detroit. But if he can win this game, go to Philly and actually get a surprising win, I'm not ruling the Lions out. I think the Lions have a chance in this game to win. I really do, as a live underdog.
I'm trying. I'm concerned. My concern is you lose Alshon Jeffrey, you lose your deep threat. They're going to be able to double cover, triple cover Ertz. You've got Arcega.
Whiteside, Ortega.
Arcega Whiteside.
Arcega.
Hard to say his name,
Arcega.
but
just say
he's
Arcega.
a guy we'll just call him Whiteside. And he is from Stanford. But again, he's brand new. He's fresh.
And Bruce, in the middle, I think, was it Sayamalu who had a poor game? Carson Wentz is going to take some.
Sayamalu and Big
Carson Wentz.
Those guys had 3 holding penalties between
Carson
the two
Wentz.
Samoans. It was not a good day for the Samoan region.
Yeah. And Jason Peters didn't have a great game. I mean, injury-wise, he looked a little shaky. I mean, is it time? Do you think we can move Jason Peters in at guard and give Dillard a chance, or Dillard's not ready?
Nah.
I mean, it's
it's funny.
You gotta think about it.
Dillard looks
Wentz holds the ball too long. He takes all these shots. He doesn't get rid of the ball quickly.
Well, as far as Wentz is concerned,
McCown was getting it out like that, and Carson Wentz just holds on to it.
The best thing about Rover Sports, unlike any other show in Philly, is that we can wait 50 minutes without even saying the name Carson Wentz. So I think that's good. It shows you how we can bounce around. I personally think that it was a tale of two halves for Wentz. He started off slow. He was throwing the ball high. He was putting his Nelson Aguilar, he was putting him in severe jeopardy with those high passes.
He was. He got his back hit pretty hard on that one.
Made some great catches. Unfortunately, the one that got away was the one down the sideline.
Nelson.
He was thinking about, the classic. He was thinking about where he was going before he caught the ball. But the equivalent of a 4th and 26, and Freddie Mitchell, who's on the line, I know it wasn't 26 yards, so you still have the best catch. But this was a long play, a long throw, and Aguilar was in triple coverage, and that extended the game. So it gave a lot of Eagles fans a lot of false hope at that point.
Atlanta gave us every chance to continue to stay in that game. That game could have been up a 14-point differential. They were just lucky they missed 2 long bombs that Darby could have been scorched on top of the other scorchings. The fact that is, here's the thing is, a lot of people are giving a lot of kudos to Jim Schwartz, which I'm okay with. He dialed up. He made some changes. And Doug Peterson said they had to make a lot of changes on the fly right before the game started because of the change-ups. And you had like 3 guys in there who probably weren't even thinking of touching the field, let alone playing the entire game. So I understand why they had a shaky beginning. Carson's trying to force things to happen. He's been known to do that. We saw him do that last year. So I don't know about holding the ball too much is because of that, or is it just has no other options? My point is, it took to this to happen for him to dial up these blitzes. Then they start calling the blitz. The one where Julio Jones ran 20 miles per hour, everybody's getting all excited about, which is not the first time he did it. Let's just put that out there. Finally, the one thing that should have been said is, like, Jenkins goes and grabs Douglas or Darby or whoever and just says, listen, there's one guy who does not get past us. There's one guy you do not. I'd rather have you take the foul and get the first down or whatever it is. Julio friggin' Jones. That easy. How do you let him up? It's the only guy that, if you got burnt by anybody else, Cooper, Ridley, anybody else, Freeman, the running back, anybody else, I would have been like, all right, well, they live by the blitz, you die by the blitz. It's been known. It's been said a million times. The one guy you don't let happen, they let it happen too. That happens. And then, of course, like you said, Nelson. Wentz couldn't throw a more perfect ball to Nelson at one point. Over his shoulder, the other guys had no chance to get it. The only person who could have caught it was Nelson. He had it right in his breadbasket, the whole 9 yards, whatever scenario you want to put it as. He should have had that ball. Should have been the end of the game. Or that should have been a touchdown. And even think about it. The whole 2-point conversion that was taken back because he was down when he left his feet or whatever.
That was painful. You really lost that game on 2 plays in a matter of inches. That 2-point conversion was big. And Zach Ertz, he needed 8 yards. And this is the ghost of Andy Reid coming back. Andy Reid, over and over again, he would always throw before the sticks. It's called a sticks play for a reason. Yeah. You got to go the extra yard. And Zach Ertz is a veteran. There's no reason he shouldn't have gone past the sticks, catch the ball. That should have been a first down. And again, it's nice to go back in the time machine. If they would have gotten that first down, I think the Eagles would have won. They had a lot of momentum. They came back so far. To see them come back so far and come back an inch short, and to lose on a measurement like that and a booth review, that's if you're an Eagles fan, that's painful. It's a painful way to lose a game.
That's what makes the loss even more heartbreaking. And like I said, if they get that 2-point conversion, at this point they're going for 3 points to keep it into a touchdown type game.
It's a whole different game.
Yeah,
and they would have had the 3 points. With Jake the Snake Elliott, he thrives on long. When they have a penalty, he has to kick a longer field goal. I'm more comfortable because he actually does well with the long ones. The short ones are the tough ones for him.
Yeah, I look at the Eagles too, and Zach Ertz, how many catches does he have through 2 weeks?
Well, the first game he only had 4 or 5 tops.
He had plenty. He had plenty.
How much? Against the Falcons, you think he had
plenty? He had like 8 or 9.
He had a bunch
of touches.
Yeah, Matt Collins.
Matt Collins. We got to give Matt Collins his due. I was never a Matt Collins fan. I thought he was a bust. He was admittedly last year he was in and out with hamstring injuries. Guy seems like he was always hurt, but he came up big in that game.
Yeah.
What did he do? He was able to separate. When Wentz was under the gun, he was able to break loose like a veteran. He was able to get open in space, and he also had a lot of yards after the catch. Matt Collins caught everything that came his way, and this was Matt Collins coming out partying.
And that throw was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and you know what? That throw was an incredible
his
throw.
Arm strength.
That throw with him in the grasp, that reminds me of the squirrel play last year. I think it was last year.
The Redskins play
the Redskins,
when it broke out 2 years ago?
Like a squirrel. That was 2 years ago. He broke out like a squirrel. But when he was literally up in the air, at his knee, you could have put a credit card under his knee.
Yeah.
And that was just an incredible
That reminded
play.
me of the Seahawks game, too. I think he made a throw like to that caliber. But he's one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks, obviously, in the NFL.
But the way he released it perfectly and let him in stride. And so Matt Collins, he's going to have to come up big. It's going to be Zach Ertz and Matt Collins
so valiant.
against the Lions. They have to come up big.
Carson Wentz.
I don't know about Goddard. I haven't heard. I don't know if he's day-to-day or could he be back? I don't know.
They haven't ruled him out, put it that way. My least favorite word in football is questionable.
Questionable usually means out.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign.
Carson Wentz needs to carry this team until this defense can be suitable enough to handle some good offensive teams. But I look at it's going to come down to pass rush. The defensive line that's the Eagles' bread and butter. That's their identity. I was expecting more from Miles Sanders out of Penn State. I want to see that guy actually get developed by the coaching staff, and I want to see Doug Peterson run the football out of the shotgun a little bit more to alleviate some of the stress with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, here's a question for Al. I'm watching Miles Sanders, and I'm not seeing any explosiveness. I see him going 1-1 against linebackers. I haven't seen him juke somebody out. But I'm also looking at the offensive line, terrible run blocking. Yeah. So I look at Howard as a very big physical running back from the Bears, and I just don't see any holes. So if the line isn't blocking, it could make the running backs look very mediocre.
Yes.
So I'm not sure. Is this just Sanders getting his feet wet? He sometimes hesitates. He's a little tentative. But he's not Le'Veon Bell. He's not Le'Veon Bell.
No.
Le'Veon Bell is a classic guy who could stop, look, and boom, he's gone.
Yeah.
And I don't see Sanders with this kind of explosiveness so far.
Well, put it this way. I think he's a little happy feet. He is a rookie, so it's a little happy feet with that. So he's learning and he's, trying to move things out. I think he has the ability. I think he'll get there. You have to give him a little bit of a chance. I think they are too high on him already, personally. Just like they overused Darren Sproles, I feel, in week 1. Jordan Howard, here's my thing is, when your O-line isn't doing great, it's just kind of go back to high school football for a second. You got a guy like Jordan Howard who can bang up your defensive line, your linebackers who are blitzing and all that.
Wear him down.
Wear him down a little bit in the beginning because you know what? You come and clog a hole and a guy like Jordan Howard comes in there and cleans your clock a couple times. You're a little less apt to jump in that hole as you were.
You got to soften it.
But they're not using it enough.
It's like you grab honey out of a refrigerator, and it's in the honey. You can't put the honey on your apple because it's so cold. So you have to loosen it up.
That's 2 weeks in a row with the food analogies. I like the Snickers one.
You know it's around dinner when we do these Rover Sports.
The Milky Way, the frozen bar. Sorry to interrupt.
So a lot of Miles Sanders, not enough Howard. And again, I think in a good way, you overused Sproles in the first game. But the Eagles are usually great at finding innovative ways to get Sproles touches, to get the little screen, the little bubble screen, the classic, the Chip Kelly, God forbid, bubble screen. Nobody does that better than Sproles, but they just did not. They did not get him into that game at all. And I'm not sure exactly why. They could have used a little explosiveness in that game. That game was an ugly game. It was like these guys were sloshing around in mud, but yet they're indoors in an artificial turf at 72 degrees. So it was an ugly game.
As we talked about earlier, the O-line was not doing its job, and if the O-line is not doing its job, I don't care how good of a running back you are, it's going to be hard to produce. You got a guy who is still a rookie in Miles Sanders who has wowed this team, preseason wise as well. Nothing really explosive to date for the first couple weeks. And they're notorious for not giving the big backs the credit where it's due because even when we had them,
When you had LeGarrette Blount.
You got LeGarrette Blount.
He was used sparingly.
And he had a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I mean, the whole 9 yards. You would have thought before even that came about, they would have had more chances to use a guy like LeGarrette Blount. J.J., even when he was here, the problem with J.J., it's hard to say if it's their fault or his fault because of his injuries.
Yep.
But they just don't seem to be happy on the big backs, like just the guys who are going to ground and pound, north-south runners. I mean, it happened with the Eagles when Andy Reid was here. So who was Andy? Andy Reid was Doug Peterson's mentor. So
Westbrook was the guy.
Westbrook. I mean, they overused the heck out of him. He had more mileage on him than he should have by the time.
They want receivers out of the backfield.
And that's why
they never run the ball. They never consistently run it.
Like those little bubble screens and all that. And that how many times when it was Andy, when it was Chip, and now back to Doug Peterson. I mean, the bubble screens don't work very often. I mean, they keep trying to run it and maybe set up for something else for a long throw or something. But I don't know. I'm just tired of seeing this outside bubble screen run that just keeps getting eaten up by. And look, the Redskins did it, and they're not that great of a defense right now because of the injuries.
I think this is a, you never say a must win, but the fact is they're going to be going to Green Bay on a short week. And that game is a tough game.
2 games, 10 days.
I have that penciled in as a loss.
Yeah, the Packers
Aaron
are 2-0.
Rodgers is hot. He's 2-0. And Aaron Rodgers is going to slay that secondary. At Lambeau, I think anybody who predicts anything different is looking through green.
I think it's a winnable.
Glasses. When
you have Carson Wentz, you can always win a game, know. And I think it could be close, that Green Bay game.
Green Bay's defense looks a little better this year, though, don't they?
Yeah, they're playing pretty good so far.
Green Bay, is that team who scares you on Green Bay?
You mean on the offense?
On anything.
Well, defensively, they have Adams, who's a really good player. Aaron Jones is a pretty good running back.
Good.
Jimmy Graham. They have a couple. They have a couple of guys. They have young receivers, but their defensive line. I think that they have. Let me think on.
Is there anybody who's
line.
blowing you away on Green Bay outside of Aaron Rodgers?
They have a good secondary. They have a young secondary that's pretty good.
Middle of the road.
Savage.
That's what I'm trying to say.
King.
When Aaron Rodgers is on the field, there's always a good chance for Green Bay to win. In Lambeau, that gives them a little heads up as well, too. If the Eagles, here's the thing: is going into this game, if the Eagles were healthy,
if they had all their wide receivers, I'd feel good about it.
My green
if you had Deshaun Jackson, Alshon, and Ertz. That's formidable.
Now we know we
now
don't
the point
have
is,
I think the secondary needs to play better.
Then a defensive coordinator can't load up on the running game. That opens up the running game. But Matt Patricia, he's going to be playing 8 in the box. He's going to be stopping the run. He's going to make Wentz one-dimensional. He's going to be blitzing Wentz, and it could get ugly. Yeah. And Matt Patricia knows how to do it. Mm-hmm. He was in New Orleans. He was in New England long enough. New England played the Eagles plenty of times, and I think he knows.
The way to beat the Eagles is take away Zach Ertz. Take away Zach Ertz. Force Carson Wentz to beat you throwing 20 yards down the field.
If they have the same receivers on the field, that's probably the game plan. I mean, if we get Alshon be able to play a little bit or somebody else.
He's out.
Not Alshon. Is he out, definitely?
I heard Alshon was out and Deshaun is out. They're both 2 weeks. I hope I'm wrong, but it was pretty clear they're both 2 week injuries.
At least 2 games right there, Green Bay and the
Lions. If you lose those guys, that's bad.
Yeah.
If you lose the next 2 games, you're 1-3. People are going to have to. You're going to have to barricade the bridges around here, and people are going to start panicking.
I look at the Cowboys, and I think Prescott's a different quarterback with Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. I think Kellen Moore could be the next great NFL head coach. Like when we look back in 20 years, there could be streets named after him. He could be like a Vince Lombardi, Bill Belichick there.
He did play with Dak Prescott before he was calling his plays for him.
He's been calling plays since he was 16 years old.
Kellen Moore in the favor of the Dallas Cowboys right now. The Eagles are injury riddled.
Kellen Moore is a genius.
He's the offensive coordinator.
When he was 15 years old, living in Washington. Not Seattle, but another town in Washington. He was calling his own plays in high school. His dad was a coach. His brother played the game of football. He was 5'11" when he was 16 years old. He didn't grow an inch past 16. So, and he at Boise State, he's one of the best college quarterbacks ever. And then he retired at 28 years old, said, I'm going to be a coach. And at 29, he was one of the youngest offensive coaches ever calling plays for Dak last year. Dak did better. And then finally, Linehan is out of there. And you're seeing how just creative this Cowboys offense is right now with all the motion that they're doing. You're seeing Gallup and these young receivers like Randall Cobb getting open. They dropped 30 on Washington. I know the Cowboys have only played the Redskins and the Eagles, but Prescott.
The Eagles, yeah.
Giants.
Redskins and Giants. They're looking
they're
like
going to Miami.
Prescott's looking like an MVP type of quarterback this year.
Now,
he's looking actually elite because I think this coaching. You know what Jared?
Game one. I mean,
you know what Jared Goff is kind of made really good because he has a genius telling him what to do. I think Dak Prescott. Like I always looked at him. I think everybody's always looked at him as decent. But maybe could he really be elite? That's really the interesting thing. And this Kellen Moore, I think he's the best weapon in football. Like, would you rather have Mahomes or Kellen Moore? Maybe Mahomes, but Kellen Moore's probably a top 5 commodity. He's going to be the next NFL head coach next year.
If he's that good, it comes down to like if a quarterback's that good, it's like kind of like Peyton Manning. An offensive coordinator is kind of or guy pulling
Peyton Manning is the offensive
Why
coordinator.
don't you give? Well, I'm curious here. Rapid fire. Top 4 teams in the NFC.
In the NFC.
Why don't you list maybe the playoff teams? We'll do the 6 teams.
Currently, this week 2, top 4 teams. Go ahead. Power rankings for.
Should I go? Should I go?
Yeah.
But let us. You're the expert. Let us.
Cowboys number 1 for me. Number 2, I'm going to say 49ers. Number 3, LA Rams. Number 4.
I'm going to say Green Bay now.
Yeah, Green Bay.
Green Bay right now. So I hate to just rubber stamp those picks, but that's why I wanted to.
I don't know if I would put San Fran in there just yet. Power ranking the team.
They're going to be. They're playing the Steelers. They're going to be 3-0.
You watch a lot of.
Well, they won by 30 against Cincinnati.
But does that make them the best team in the NFC, or do they have the lucky?
They ran the ball for 260 yards.
Yeah.
Remember Raheem Mostert played on the Eagles?
Yes.
He was on the 49ers. He ran for like 130 yards. That's how good their offensive line is. And they have Quan Alexander. Their secondary is actually really good. Their pass rush. I mean, they're sneaky. They're really good.
I would say top 4 right now. Dallas has to be up there, which is painful for me to say. Seahawks, I think they're being overlooked. I think they're still a very good team.
Yeah. They won by 1 against Cincinnati at home.
Still, doesn't make them a bad team.
And the Niners won by 30 on the road.
Okay.
So, you could say Seattle.
I think San Fran might be at number 5 right now.
Well, the Seattle did beat the Steelers, so I'll give you credit there.
Seattle, like they can come into Pittsburgh and win. That's not an easy thing to do, especially after the beating Steelers took in.
Yeah.
I would say normally if they were healthy, the Eagles could be somewhere at number 4.
I would say the one team that fell out, obviously, is the Saints.
Yeah.
If Drew Brees was there, I think all of us would have them in our top 4.
Who's winning that South now? Atlanta, Tampa, or the Saints?
Atlanta.
I'm actually a Tampa guy. I like Tampa. I'm getting bull. I've never said that. I've always hated that team. But now I love Bruce Arians, and there's something about Bruce Arians and even Todd Bowles, former Temple Owl for all you Philly people. It's a Philly team down in Tampa, and
it's like the St. Louis Blues.
Kind of like
it's like the Blues. Do you like Carolina and their chances?
I don't like.
Or would you wrap Cam Newton up in a sling?
Cam Newton just doesn't look right.
He's done.
Cam Newton can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Is he done being a man? Because he's dressing like Mary Poppins. He looks like he's transitioning.
Right now,
he's wearing a scarf.
That's not politically correct.
No, I know. I'm kidding around.
You can't be a piece.
Come on, bro. We waited.
But we can say that. You waited 58 minutes.
I waited an hour and 15 minutes. We're in overtime now. Soon it's going to be midnight and we can start cursing on this show.
He just needs the handbag and he's good to go.
No, I'm joking around. Breaking news, Cam Newton's still a male as of this show.
Yeah.
As of
I still don't agree with that.
Guess what? I think Cam Newton.
I
think Cam Newton. First of all, he wants the attention by dressing like that, and he can act like that. How many millions has he had?
He's got a little Dennis Rodman in him.
Yeah, he's crazy.
I feel
he's a good quarterback. It's a shame he's probably going to retire soon.
He's kind of like Michael Vick-ish to me. Like he's a great athlete, not the greatest quarterback. He has the abilities. He's got the tools. He's got the talent.
He's got a strong arm, but not an accurate
He's more worried
arm.
about being the man, the Superman, more than making his team
Little
the super
Dwight
team.
Howard. Little Dwight Howard
yeah,
in him.
Yeah. More
Just a
than
little bit.
making
Some
his
weirdness
team a super
with Dwight
team.
Howard.
Weirdness.
I think he worries more about what his post-game attire is going to be than
He's
his
selecting.
He put a lot of work into that.
If
That
you
was
look at-
impressive to find those glasses. I mean, you
By
have
the
to go
way,
to a thrift
on
store.
his,
grandmother
on his
said it to
wristband.
him.
If you see Cam Newton on his wristband, it's his post-game attire.
Yeah.
It's not his place.
Yeah, so
But Cam Newton,
I think Ron Riviera is done after this season.
the Riviera.
Yeah.
The riverboat gambler.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Cam Newton, he took too many hits. That's the problem. He's such a big guy, and he did make that Super Bowl. So if it comes down to, would you rather have Matt Ryan or Cam Newton? I've always said Cam Newton because I thought Cam was clutch. Cam's going to, unfortunately, he doesn't have a long
Right
shelf
now, I would
life.
take Matt Ryan.
I was going
think
to say,
Cam
Matt Ryan
Newton-
got a little further. At least they had a good half of the Super Bowl.
Cam Newton's
He
going
got to
to
the Super Bowl and he couldn't even get a shot off.
Cam Newton's going to retire pretty soon. Like, he's going to be – Jameis Winston's going to outlast that.
Here's my thing is, Cam Newton is about Cam Newton, and that's never going to that kind of quarterback is never going to win you anything. I call him Sham Newton. That's my new nickname for him. I just don't think I think he's a shame of a quarterback. He's a good athlete, and he kind of like a la Michael Vick. He might have been better off in a different position or something, but he does not take the leadership role. I don't see them at all. I think they don't even come close to making the playoffs.
I think Ron is totally gone.
I think
like you
Atlanta
said.
has this one. I think Tampa Bay is going they're going to have some good runs, maybe go 8-8 at most, but that they're not going to be enough to make the playoffs. It depends on how long Drew Brees is out and when he comes back, if he's good enough to even to make a fight with Atlanta. And if Atlanta once again, I feel same thing. Kind of since Carolina went to that Super Bowl and lost the way they did, they have not been the same. They've been trying to get back there. They've been watching that rearview mirror instead of looking forward. And I feel the same thing for Atlanta. Atlanta is a very up and down team. They can look great at times. Because I mean, if you want to take something away, if I'm an Atlanta fan, which there's about 12 of them, so maybe number 13.
Yep.
If I'm an Atlanta fan, I'm watching him and I'm looking at this. I'm like, you had a injury-riddled Eagles team, and you kept them in the game. They were still in the game.
It seems like they should have been ahead by 3 touchdowns, and
At
they
least.
only were ahead by 5 points. Mm-hmm. And I don't think this is a good Atlanta team.
And I'll keep my green glasses on.
I really don't think it's
Well,
a good Atlanta team.
I liked the play calling of Atlanta, though. I thought it
but
was
here's the
aggressive.
question.
Like Matt Ryan
Look ahead, though.
they
Is
had
this a good
touchdowns.
team?
That
Do you see the Falcons as a good team? That's just a simple question.
I wanted to talk about that interception to Nate Gary, the worst pass maybe of the season. It's hard for Nate Gary to
How about
catch
Fletcher
a
Cox?
football.
Fletcher Cox
and,
almost had an interception.
His name is
Yeah.
Nathan Gary now. He's not Nate anymore. He's Nathan.
Oh, he's growing up.
Just like Greg on Succession.
Yeah.
Greg is not Greg anymore. He's Gregory.
I'm not Mitch. I'm Mitchell.
Yeah.
So is Atlanta a good team? They're okay. Okay, there's your answer. They're
There's your
average.
case.
And like you said, it's the flip of the coin who you're going to get with this team right now. They have not been a consistent team since that Super Bowl loss. That has stuck with Dan Quinn and with Matt Ryan and maybe a little Julio Jones this whole time.
And guess what? Speaking about Matt Ryan, that's the thing that's so frustrating, Al, is that you knew if he was on the 30-yard line or even if it was first and goal, he would choke. He would get those memories again of the Eagles. Because this is the team, he grew up here, Penn Charter. He's never been able to get over the hump. So that's why that was such a huge play for Matt Ryan.
Downtown Whippet.
Yeah, or the Penn Charter.
Yeah.
That's why that throw, you let him off the hook, and that's why he was celebrating so much.
Well, it was a role reversal. Last two times that Atlanta was here, it was down to the last play for them.
In the red zone. In the red zone. It was kind of like the Saints game. But go ahead.
Closing out the show, first I want to thank Al Zafiri, producing a great show, great green screen. The microphone, this is a brand new mic today. I'm not popping and hissing or making snake-like sounds at all. I'm not swallowing mice. And to everybody, I want to say thanks so much, and good night and good sports.